Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the channel and another installment of the weekly watches. Apologies, this is coming to you a day later than normal. I just didn't get around to filming the video yesterday. There's not actually that many titles to talk about that I've watched physically this week. I'll try and coincide this for when the stream goes live later on, all being well that it's uploaded by then. But yeah, I've only seen 6 in total physically this week. I don't even think I've been to the cinema that much in the last week. I'm just trying to think. I've been once, but that, as always, will be discussed on the live stream, as will any sort of streaming watches this week. And yeah, I am planning on watching a film before the stream once I finish recording this video, so I will also talk about that one on the stream later on. So yeah, like I said, just 6 watches this week, all horror titles. I started my sort of horror watching sort of earlier, sort of mid-September, once I'd come back from my holiday. So it's pretty much just been pure horror stuff. I've even got a pile. I'm not going to show that in a video because you'll see them in the weekly watches anyway. I do intend to try and watch as much of them as I can. They are generally, I think, all pretty much re-watches. But yeah, anyway, we'll get straight on with it. I'll talk about everything I've seen physically this week. And yeah, just let you know my thoughts. So first up, we have a rewatch for me. And really good sort of British horror comedy that you probably look at and think that's going to be awful, but it's not. It's really funny. Just a really well made British film called Cockneys versus Zombies, which, as the title suggests, is a bunch of Cockneys in the East End going up against these zombies. But as you can probably imagine, it is definitely a horror comedy and it is very funny. You've got Alan Ford in there. You've got Honor Blackman, aka Pussy Galore, from Goldfinger. You've got Michelle Ryan in there. Harry Treadaway. Richard Breers is in this as well. And yeah, it's just about a group of, I suppose, criminals that intend to rob a bank, but it all happens at the start of this big sort of zombie outbreak, and they sort of team up with 2 of the main characters' grandfather, played by Alan Ford, and other residents of the old people's home that he lives at, to fight back against the zombies and get out of the East End safely, basically. Very funny, sort of same sort of humour as Shaun of the Dead, sort of that sort of similar tone. The gore works well. It's not over the top. It is done for comedic effect, pretty much. There are definitely some laugh out loud moments. I'd say if you're a fan of Shaun of the Dead, definitely give this one a go. It's got that comedy. I mean, it says on the front it's sort of a mashup of Shaun of the Dead and Lock, Stock. And I've still yet to see Lock, Stock, but I can kind of imagine what they're going for there. But yeah, just one that I really enjoy. Glad that I stuck it on and watched it again. And yeah, that's it. Cockneys versus Zombies. And I've just realised as well that I've got to try and stop saying all the time, because count the amount of times that I've said it so far in this video and you'll be rich if I gave you £1 for every time I'd said that. So I'm going to attempt to not say it, but I kind of say it without thinking. So we'll see how I get on. Almost did it then. Next up, we were into October. This was sort of Tuesday. I've just done it again. That I watched this. I had intended to watch something else, but I do mention what went wrong in my newest pickups sort of deliveries video, which will be going up very shortly after this video. Probably I want to say Wednesday I might put that up. I'm not sure because I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know when I'm planning on doing another watch pile episode. as you know, like I said, I'm just trying to get through horror films this month. Plus, I've got the cinema probably Tuesday and Wednesday this week. So again, this week I won't get the chance to record a watch pile video. So it's kind of just when I get the time, I'll be doing that. So instead of that, I'll give you my deliveries video instead, which I've already filmed. But anyway, talking about the next film, I put Tremors on, which was a first time watch. It'd been sat in the collection for a while, and I recently did like my unwatched collection overview of the piles I have over there, a mix of like sort of Blu-ray, 4K, DVD. I've sort of got in the last few months. Well, this one came from the shelf and went over there because I think it had been picked out in the watch pile before, so I thought just to save it getting picked again, I'd separate it. And a lot of people commented on that video and said that this is a must watch, and I'm glad that I did watch it. A lot of fun, just a fun 90s creature feature romp with Kevin Bacon. You've got Fred Ward as two sort of, I suppose they're just handymen in this small town, and this new species of sort of sandworm, I suppose they are, starts eating the residents of this little town, and they've got to fight back against them basically, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed this. I'm not too interested in checking out the sequels because I've heard they're not a lot of good, but yeah, this is one that I'll definitely be watching again because it's just a lot of fun, just a very easy watch, only 90 minutes. So yeah, I recommend. I just really love these sort of like 90s Universal films. I don't know if anyone else will get what I mean, but like films that came out in the 90s that were distributed by Universal had this just sort of, I don't know if magical's the right word to use, but they had this certain feeling about them, or maybe that's just the way I feel about them, because there's another film that I'll be talking about in a minute that I sort of had the same sort of feeling when I was watching. It's sort of like a nostalgic feeling, but at the same time it's not, because obviously I wasn't around when these films came out, but I don't know, it's just hard to explain. But yeah, Tremors. And then I finally watched, and you'll see this in the pickups video as well, all three films from the Evil Dead trilogy. So I started off with The Evil Dead, which you can tell exactly what kind of film it is. It's nothing more than sort of a low budget horror film from a director that's kind of experimenting with his sort of style, because I believe it was like Sam Raimi's first film, and it kind of in places does feel like a student film, but it's a well-made student film, and it's just an iconic horror film. There are some very iconic moments in it. It's very watchable, but for me, I would say it's the weakest of the trilogy. I know some people would probably say it's their favourite. I'm sure everybody has one of these as their favourite, so I don't think any answer would be wrong. So yeah, that was my thoughts on The Evil Dead. Then I went on to Evil Dead 2, which to start with, it sort of reboots the first one, because I read that Sam Raimi didn't basically have the rights to the first film, so he couldn't sort of use flashbacks to kind of recap people about what happened in the first film, so he completely reshot it with different actors. Well, a different actor sort of did it slightly differently, to get to where the first film finished so they could carry on the story. And it's just, you could tell that there was more money involved in this film. It feels a bit more like a studio film, not as much as the next one does, but a lot of fun. Obviously, you've got some iconic moments with Ash fighting his hand and the chainsaw, just groovy. All of that is just, it's a lot of fun. It's a very fun film, and the good thing with all three of these films is they're all under 90 minutes, so they're very easy, quick watches, which I appreciated, because you don't want these sorts of films to really be any longer than that. They don't need to be. They do what they need to do, and that's it. And then I moved on to Army of Darkness, which personally for me is my favourite of the three. It definitely feels this was the one that I feel it feels like a 90s Universal film. It just has that feeling to it. It's much more of a comedy than the first two films. There's a bit of horror in there, but nowhere near as much as the first two films. There's still gore. I just love the fact that Ash has basically been gone back to, I think it's 1300, when the book's basically, I think it's gone missing, so he has to go and try and find it to go back to his time. Just really good stuff in here. You got the beautiful Embeth Davidtz in here as well. Just some iconic bits. The bit with the boomstick, which you'll get if you've seen it. When the mini-me's of him are attacking him, that's all really slapsticky and funny, and I did enjoy that. Yes, it was just a really fun film. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would say, of the films I've watched this week, Army of Darkness is my favourite. Just a lot of fun. If you haven't delved into the Evil Dead trilogy, I do highly recommend them. They're just a lot of fun films. They are what they are. They're not like award-winning films. They're just fun horror comedies. Although they're all sort of horror comedies. There's comedy elements to all of them. I think the first one was not meant to be a horror comedy. It was meant to be more of a horror. But now it's sort of, because of how low budget it is and some of the effects in it aren't great, it can be interpreted as a horror comedy, I suppose. But yeah, I'm glad that I finally checked these ones out, and I will definitely be checking them out again in the future. So that's the Evil Dead trilogy. And the last thing I watched this week, which I watched yesterday, so I will include it in this video because obviously I'm now recording it Monday, so I might as well, was one of the only sort of horror, or Hammer horror, should I say, titles that I had in my collection that I hadn't seen. Although saying that, I've only seen this and another one, which was the film that came before this. So I do really need to try and get into some Hammer horror films more, see what they're like. But Stuart will be proud that I watched this. I watched The Satanic Rites of Dracula, starring the brilliant Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. Now, I'm very hit or miss with 70s films. Some 70s films I really like, and some I just can't get into. Now I'll say I love the setting and the feeling of this film. It's very British 70s. But it didn't grab my attention. If a film like this doesn't grab my attention within the first sort of 10-15 minutes, then I lose attention. And unfortunately, that happened with this film. I enjoyed the previous film more than this one, and it's a shame because I believe this was Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing's final Dracula films. But what is it? Dracula AD 1972? Yeah. Which came out the year before this. I thought was really fun. I really liked just the sort of, because it's like a 70s serial killer film, but with Dracula, and he'd been transported. He's basically got going further in time, and you've got Van Helsing's descendant, played by Peter Cushing, who I believe played, obviously, the original Van Helsing in the other Hammer films. But yeah, this has had like cults in it, and detectives, and Joanna Lumley pops up in it. She's got a role in it, but just for some reason or another did not grab me as I hoped it would. I still want to see more Hammer films, especially more of these Dracula Hammer films. But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't grab me. It's not one that I'm going to get rid of, by no means. I would like to revisit it down the road, maybe when I've seen the other Hammer horror Dracula films. I might appreciate it a bit more. The style, like I said, very British sort of 70s feeling to it. Just for me, I didn't love it. I wanted to enjoy it more than I did. So that is The Satanic Rites of Dracula, which is the last film that I watched this week. So yeah, like I said, only 6 titles this week. I don't know how many will be this week. If there's not that many, I might give it a miss this weekend and wait until I've got a bit more. Because, like I said, I intend to watch one now, so that's one. But then tomorrow I'm at the cinema. Wednesday I'm probably going to the cinema. So that only leaves sort of like Thursday, Friday and Saturday. So that's only 3 days. So, and I never get through 2 films in an evening, so that's 2 films Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, depending on what I end up doing, maybe 1 or 2 films. So we'll just have to wait and see. There may be one, there may not be one. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all of the titles that I've watched this week if you've seen them. My recommendations of the week would definitely go to Cockneys vs. Zombies. It's Cockneys vs. Zombies, isn't it? Yeah. Or is it Cockneys? No, it's Cockneys vs. Doubted myself then. Tremors and Army of Darkness. Those are my 3 favourites of the week. So go and watch them if you haven't seen them already. As I said, the live stream probably be about live by the time this video goes up. But in case it goes up early and anyone checks it out before, we are live tonight at 7 PM as usual. There will be a quiz tonight. I have prepared a quiz, and my guests this evening will be Jim as always, Pete as always. I hope they've become regular, co-hosts. I suppose they are co-hosts now, I suppose, in a way, like Sam used to be. Now, I would say Jim and Pete, who are always on, they're my co-hosts now. And we're also joined by Jodie this week. Jodie's back. There were more guests planned, but for one reason or another, they just weren't able to make it this week, so we'll get them back on another week. But yeah, if you can drop by, just leave a comment, leave a question, get involved in any way, I'd really appreciate it, as would all my other guests and co-hosts. So yeah, drop by, even if it's just for 5 minutes. We go live at 7. We'll probably go until about 10, I would have thought. So yeah, just come by if you've got the time. But that's it for this video. So if you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Turn your notification bell on so you know when I have a new video uploaded to the channel. Comment down below anything and everything. As you know, I always take the time to get back to anyone that leaves me a comment because I really do appreciate it. And that's it. So until next time, everyone, take care. Goodbye.